Hey everyone, it's Elisa Kazarowski, and we have come to the end of this series. So today I'll be sharing strategy 6 of our 6 strategies for building strong connections with students. And then we are also going to just touch on where do you go from here? How do you get started integrating these into your classroom or your work environment? But first, strategy number 6 is be an advocate. It is so critical that we know our kids' individual needs, right? And that we are making sure these are being met. And we can do that by being familiar, first of all, with any IEPs, ILPs, 504 plans. But above and beyond that is just knowing what our kids' needs are. And those are not always outlined in an IEP, an ILP, or a Section 504 plan. So what can we do for our kids that have sensory issues? What can we do with our kids that are working through some OT or speech issues? What can we do with our fidgety kids so that they are best able to learn in our classroom? That's what this is all about. Explicitly teaching, modeling, practicing social emotional learning skills, recognizing where we have some gaps, and then working with kids or our class as a whole on some of those skills, maybe during a morning meeting, a community meeting time. What do the kids say their needs are, especially our older kids, as they're learning to advocate for themselves? What are their needs? We need to, again, listen, right? That word keeps coming up. We want our kids to be able to advocate for themselves, and we're trying to give them the skills to do that. So then when they are able to, let's make sure that we have our ears open to that. Standing up for what we know is best for our students. At the end of the day, that is our job. We are here for the kids, and we are going to do what is best for kids. Now, if you're interested in some school-wide advocacy strategies, the first relationship mapping is well, I was going to say simply, but it may not be simple depending on how many kids you have in your school. But it's basically we're identifying those kids who don't have a person in the school. And by a person, I mean somebody that they have a connection with. You know those kids. So we have some kids that if we say their name, it's like, oh yeah, so-and-so teacher has such a great relationship with that student. So who are the kids that don't have that teacher, don't have that staff member? Let's identify them and figure out how we can facilitate a relationship being built between them and a staff member. Some schools do this very formally, where they list every single kid and they link them to a staff member. Now, if you have 1,200 kids in your building, that may not be feasible, right? That's okay. That's when we really focus on those frequent flyers, the kids that are really struggling in one way or another, academically, behaviorally. We know that they have a rough home environment, whatever that factor is. And we need to make sure they have some people at school, maybe students who are new to the school, new to our country. Again, there are lots of factors that play into that. We can also think about things like forming a student advisory committee or asking for some survey or asking some survey questions of families, of students, making behavior-specific praise the norm across all grade levels. What this means is that we are all part of this larger school community. And as we are walking through the building, it is okay if other teachers comment on my students' behavior, either positively or negatively, right? Or I should say positively or giving constructive feedback, prompting a student to do the right thing, because we are all going to help our kids grow. We're all part of this larger community. Okay, so where do you take all of this now? So getting started, what can we do to facilitate the use of these strategies in our classroom, in our school, in our specific work environment? So the number one thing that I would say is pick one thing that I've talked about in this video series that speaks to you, that you feel like you're going to get the most bang for your buck with. And do that thing. Do it for a month, a quarter, a semester, the entire year. I don't care. But focus in on that one thing. But other things that we can do, share what we've learned with colleagues, right? If you are not a classroom teacher, choose a buddy classroom to work with that you can team up with to kind of try some of these things out. Maybe do the relationship mapping activity as a whole staff. Start sharing what you're learning, what you're doing with colleagues, share with parents, right? We're trying to build that bridge between school and home. So think through these strategies in terms of what you can do to really get started. And then I'll leave you with these 3 reflection questions that you can kind of think through on your own to sort of make a plan of action. I hope that you have gotten some valuable strategies from this video series. I hope that you take the time to reflect on these 3 questions, and I hope that you have a fantastic year with your students in whatever work environment or school environment you're in. Thanks for joining me.